Thank you so much. Hi everyone. So my name is Iulia Ivan. I am from Romania. I have about 15 years of experience in business. Over 10 years I spent in different executive positions, from branch manager to vice president in one of the biggest European bank, which is Deutsche Bank. I also led a shared service center in Saudi Arabia. I am the founder of Beyond Business, a company that offers business transformation and change management. And I also keep online experiential programs on leadership with mentorship. I am the author of How to Thrive as a Female Leader in a Still Patriarchal Society that are available on Amazon and Kobo. Well, many people they see me, they get to know me, and they see my career, they think that my success was like linear. I got it right from the start and it was all peachy. But the matter of fact, success, it actually looked like that. It was never linear. Even as my career as an employee, but neither as my career as an entrepreneur as I started 3 years ago. Actually, my first entrepreneurial attempt, it was after when an entrepreneur told me that I will never be a leader because I don't have what it takes to be a leader. So then I really got upset. So I let my emotion lead me and just quit the job. And then started this adventure of trying to build jewelry. But I had no idea how to do it. At that time, there was not such a huge amount of information how it is today. And I just started just from my imagination to create those jewelry. But I had no idea how to market them, how to sell them, nothing like that. So it was actually a bust because nothing good came out of this experience except for the fact that I really knew how to do business. I really need to understand and learn how to do business. And as I said, it wasn't always like this, really peachy. And after this experience, I started going back to being an employee until 2019. At that point, I was leading a shared service center in a Dutch group of companies who served about 13 companies. So it was kind of a cool position and a safe position, but at the same time, I felt like it wasn't good enough for me because I wanted something different. I wanted something more. And the general manager always told me, we should not expand. We should not do more business. This is not the right time. But I knew from the market that was not true. And in the meantime, because from 2006 to 2019, I had taken my degree in business administration. From 2016 to 2019, I took my degree in psychology. And in 2019, I said, okay, that's enough. If I cannot do more here, then maybe I will try this career as a psychologist. But it turns out, after quitting my job, I realized that staying in an office, it wasn't something for me because I find it really boring. For me, I'm really expensive, I'm really expansive, and to just stay in an office, it wasn't something that I could do. So I actually started writing a blog and then trying to figure out how can I do a different type of business in helping women. In the meantime, I have become a mentor of different organizations like She's Mom here in Romania that now it became global, and then to another organization, Power to Fly, who is also mentoring and supporting women in tech, but also in leadership position. And in the meantime, I said, okay, I want to do this business, but it wasn't also something that I wanted to do for a long period of time because I could understand it wasn't yet my mission. So therefore, in 2021, I started my business in helping entrepreneurs to recruit performant people. And I had a success for quite a while until I just realized that hunting people, it wasn't something that I want to do anymore, because I also have about 7 years of experience in selling truck parts, where you have to be the hunter all the time. And after this, it was also something like, for me, these projects were coming really easy, and I could get clients pretty easy until some point that I could not. And recruiting was something that, okay, I have done a lot as a manager, but for me was something that I need to find something else to really challenge me. So I also busted it. So you can imagine how my family would think that I went from, position from position, from business to business. And in their eyes, I would just seem like a failure because I could not find my place. I would screw up all the time. I could not continue with the businesses. And, some in their mind, it was something off. So it was also something really fearful, and I felt a lot of fear when I actually started my business in 2021 as helping companies to recruit performant people. I remember that, being an employee, maybe I have issued thousands of invoices, but when I first started to issue my invoice on my own business, I had a panic attack. I did not want to do something wrong, even though, let's say, it was something that in the past I have done. And I could not understand why until years later, that I will express a little bit more later on. In the meantime, in 2021, I also received a position, an offer to be a vice president in Deutsche Bank. It was really nice for me. And it was something like, maybe every woman would think that we dreamed of, because I would see myself to grow from a manager position higher and higher and so on. But then I realized that the higher I got from the management perspective, the lonelier I get from the gender perspective. And outside of that, the type of aggression and bullying I receive as a woman, it just made me realize that it's not something that I want to continue in a corporation. It was my first time in a corporation. It was about 1 year, and I said enough. In the meantime, I have received an offer to lead a shared service center in Saudi Arabia, and everybody told me that I'm crazy to go over there since women are still seen as a product for men. But I kind of let my ego and say, okay, even this is happening and I'm a strong woman, I will do that. And for a couple of months, I could do that. And now I can say that it was a stupid thing to do, because even though, let's say, some of the CEOs received me really well, there was a lot of them who would disregard my opinions, who would not take in consideration what I have to say, or not even respect my time and show up for the meetings. So I was the only woman in the boardroom, and for them, it was like not existing sometimes. And this is something that I often see, that men don't necessarily know how to behave around strong women, and they just ignore it. And for them, it was also a challenge. One of the CEOs over there told me that I have to be patient, because until a couple of years back, they were just them, and sometimes they just behave like monkeys. Then after this experience in 2023, I said I had enough. I was in truck parts. I was surrounded by men. And then I went to management position. I was all the time surrounded by men. I need to be, and I want to be more around women. I need to experience more how it is to be around women. So therefore, I have this project I accessed this project with the break, which was a tremendous experience for me to realize um, how can we support each other. So I decided to go full on as a transformation consultant, online and offline, and from this experience to actually become an author and then part of the break. In my journey to understand how can I be a better leader, but also to understand why I was so afraid to fail, and why every time that, I was doing something that, just to give it a try, I would feel shame and guilt for losing money, for losing time for people, and so on. Then I started to study what's happening with us as women and what is happening in our subconscious mind. And there's a couple of things that happen differently in our brain as women than men. There's these patriarchal consequences that we also have been told that we are the weaker sex. And this is something that you see and we experience from early stages in our lives. We have been told that we are not smart enough for centuries because our brain is 9% smaller than the man. The scientists in the 19th century said, therefore, that we have a smaller capacity when it comes to our intellect. But they fail to realize that we have the same amount of brain cells, just to a higher density. Therefore, our ability to think doesn't have to do anything with our smaller brain. But there is more. We are raised and treated differently since we are children. If you go to different parts, you see that boys are encouraged to go on adventures, and their mistakes are more often overlooked under the motive, oh, this is how boys are. You shouldn't live in, this is how the boys are. But we tell little girls that they have to be nice, they have to get good grades. We teach girls to be submissive and to be perfect, which has a huge repercussion on leadership position, on entrepreneurship, where decisions need to be made and risks to be taken. This is something that I also experienced, and it's something that I wanted to get more comfortable with my idea of failure. And what I have discovered is that not only we have to accept to fail, but we have to make the distinguish between an error and how to fail smart. An error means that we already have a process in place, we know that it's working, and with something is not wrong, something is not done right, then someone did an error. And that means most of the time that a person needs to be retrained and to stay and see how we can avoid in the future not to do that. But we also have to understand and be comfortable with intelligent failure, how to fail smart. And many companies on the Silicon Valley, many companies like Amazon, like Google, and even in Deutsche Bank, we had entire labs when we tested theories. But this was something that we have to do on a scientific way. The scientist goes like this. First, they have an hypothesis, but instead of just going and try to do and test it out and see how it goes, they first look through history and see if someone else had the same questions that they had. And if someone else did it, they try to find out what went wrong in there so they can avoid it in the future. When we want to fail, we need also in taking decision to use our intuition, but to also use our introspection. Talking about failure with our employees, with our friends, with our families, we normalize this, and the amount of fear that we feel and the amount of shame that is coming from failure, because it's not something that societies encourage, will fade away and will allow us to move on from this experience. When failure should be allowed, also we have to think when that it's allowed, because I see that many people, and including myself, I have been in this trap that we say, okay, I have to avoid how to do it in the future. But can we allow the hard surgeon to do failure after failure after failure? No, because that costs lives. So instead of that, we have to think which are the failures that are allowed and which not. And that we need to think on constant change, and also how to create psychological safety within our teams and within our companies. So in my opinion, I think that we need to learn from our mistakes, but at the same time, we need to allow ourselves to see which mistakes can we do and which mistakes we cannot do.